So this is done.
Well done, Bruno.
Yeah, thank you. So welcome everybody to the, I think it's the fourth webinar for participants. And we've got just one more to go. So I've put a big poster on my wall with all the dates, and I'm just lifting my head. I see I'm ticking off the dates. So we are only 7 weeks away from ACMC. Priyamvada was saying the other day that she starts to feel the pressure because now during the weekend we did a site visit at the hotel. So that, I mean, everybody was quite happy to visit the rooms. We chose the largest conference room. It's quite huge, but we will probably decorate it in a way that it's going to be very comfortable. So on our side, we are getting ready. For the foreign delegates, I take this opportunity to remind all of you to send us your flight details as soon as that's available, so that we can arrange for hotel transfer. So we've got Izzat joining us. Welcome, Izzat. And so for the delegates, send us the flight details. We will send you a mail, but another, I think it's more Wyman, which needs the polos size for each one. So can you explain why, Wyman?
Okay. So each participant and the system, you're going to receive a polo shirt. So you just need your size. I think small, medium, large. Yeah. So just send us those
extra
details.
Large.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll communicate. So please communicate to us, and some important dates also for Mauritian participants. Number one, there's a APG course facilitated by Sandra, which is going to take place on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of May. There's also a coaching essentials module, which was not planned beforehand, but there's 1 or 2 participants who finally are going to join ACMC. So I'm going to facilitate one on the on the 29th. It starts 29th of April, 7th of May, and 8th and 11th of May. So coaching essentials. Hello, Diane. And then we was mentioning that to Willem a few minutes ago. We are doing a special preparation for ACMC in Mauritius. So we've got 3 Saturdays lined up where we're going to focus on coaching conversations and reviewing some of the concepts which are going to be useful at ACMC. So that's going to be on 27th of April, 18th of May, and 25th of May. And last thing, we were discussing that, Wyman and myself, that maybe, and that could be as late as 1st of June, we could facilitate a special session for those who are going to be benchmarkers for the first time. And there's quite a few, I think there's around 8 of us in Mauritius who are going to be, it's going to be their first opportunity to benchmark. There's Danielle, there's Mega who are with us today, and that's going to be their first opportunity to benchmark. And we realize that benchmarkers will also need prior practice. So these were some of the announcements. Willem, any special thing happening in South Africa for preparation?
No, at the moment we have finished coaching essentials and APG in April. So the only preparation that's available at the moment is the MCF chapters, and there's one in Johannesburg and one in Bloemfontein.
Yeah. Well, I'm just mentioning it, but I can't. It's not a definite promise. But I was thinking that maybe what we could do in these 3 days special preparation is to record on video do some recording, and we can share with our, maybe Izet, Mada would be very happy to be able to watch some of the things we'll be sharing during these special preparation sessions. Okay. Yeah, it does sound great. So anything special you'd like to share before we start our session today? And you can just write your question or comment. If we seeing none, one time, times, no. So I will now invite the two wonderful W's, Wyman and Willem, to start the session on, first of all, giving and receiving feedback.
So just to start, can you hear Bruno's voice inducing state? So that's one of the skills that we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to share my screen. So, okay. So can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So today, Bruno and I are going to be facilitating the skills of giving and receiving feedback, and also inducing states. So we're going to be going on for about an hour and a half. So hopefully we'll cover all of these. So one of the things that we were talking about, so Bruno, myself and Willem, we met up on Monday, and we were just talking about being prepared and being ready. I'm just wondering whether Willem can explain that concept.
So I think it's important for all the participants not to try to be totally ready before we start, because most things that's really challenging for us, we are not that ready for that. And that's okay, because we still need to learn it, but we can prepare. So, and I think it's important for us to make that distinction, not to try to be totally ready, but to be as prepared as well as we can. I think it's just about that distinction.
Yeah.
So maybe if I can share a metaphor. So for me, it's like going on a mountain trip. You can sort of be prepared in the sense that you'll watch. I mean, you'll make sure that you are in a good physical condition, but you're not totally. I mean, what can happen? Unexpected things can happen. So we're not going to be 100% ready in that sense, but at least if you're prepared, you have a better chance to have a more, I would say, resourceful trip than the person who's completely not prepared and starts having all sorts of problems at the very beginning. And talking about ACMC, I was thinking that the major risk, at least from my point of view, from my own experience, it's the risk of being completely overwhelmed during the first day, as from the first day. So this is where that would be helpful to be prepared.
Okay, thank you for that. And the webinars that we've been doing so far, we've really focused on the skills. So the skills as in what you do, what you demonstrate as skills. But we haven't really been going into preparing yourself or getting yourself ready for, in regards to your state and the meanings that you give or the intentions that you give to you being in the right state for listening, supporting, and all of those core skills. From my experience, the giving and receiving feedback and inducing state, for me, the most important thing was being in the right state to receive feedback first, for me then to give feedback effectively. So in this webinar, I'll be emphasizing the state, meaning, intention, and fellow meta coach had said it was like a sim. Have you got the right sim for that skill? So state, meaning, and intention. So that's a beautiful analogy to take yourself through when you're going through these 3 last skills. Okay. So we have limited time, so I'll add a link.
So I think with the limited time, women, you break up a bit there. Limited time, we would like you to participate and ask questions, and that we have a dynamic discussion. But we would like to keep on topic with what we discussed, so that we can cover all 3 of these skills.
Yeah, thank you. And Bruno, you're going to time us just to make sure that we're on time for each skill.
Okay, so I think we're giving ourselves like 30 minutes for giving and receiving feedback, and so a bit more time for interesting states.
Yeah, and then just some time for, okay, great.
So, okay.
Let's crack on. So I've put receiving feedback first, and for me, before becoming a coach, receiving feedback was quite hard. I found it very uncomfortable to receive feedback, especially feedback for my own, to take myself to the next level. And I found this little cartoon that demonstrated what state I was in receiving feedback. So I would avoid receiving feedback, hide behind bushes and shake, and just like in this cartoon. But then Willem had a beautiful metaphor, and I'll let Willem share this.
Okay. So the metaphor is when somebody gives you feedback, especially somebody who's a bit clumsy with giving feedback, it is like somebody throwing a rock at you. And we know that people who are not exposed to the skill of giving feedback, we can experience it as rocks being thrown at us. So the skill of receiving feedback is, first of all, to catch the rock, and not to throw it back again, but to catch the rock and to explore the gold that's in the rock. Because even if feedback is clumsy and it comes in the form of criticism, there's some gold in what the person is saying. And as the receiver of the feedback, it is your job, it's our job to dig for the gold within the feedback.
Okay.
I hear a lot that we sometimes criticize the criticism. You know, that doesn't help. Yeah. So it's to catch it, to accept it for what it is, and to dig for the gold in it, for the value that we can extract from it.
Thank you, Willem. So I started off with receiving feedback, because if you are able to receive feedback constructively, then you will be able to give feedback constructively too. So in terms of the state of receiving feedback, on the benchmarking form, it states it's in a state of openness. So when you receive feedback, you're in a state of openness. So open to what information that you can get. Okay, so being open.
Mm.
So
it would mean an open mind and an open hand
to
catch what's coming.
catch a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that in mind, then what would be your intention for receiving feedback? To think about. So what would be the resourceful intention that would allow you to be in a state of openness in receiving feedback? So I don't know your answer, but that's an answer that you can find. Anything to add, Willem?
So maybe we can just go around that everybody just says, okay, what would they see as an intention for receiving feedback?
So you can unmute yourself and.
No, Danielle. Okay, intention to grow.
From intention to grow, Danielle, you want to say, can you unmute yourself? Okay.
Intention to learn more.
To learn more. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely similar in terms of wanting to hear what I did not see yet. You know, kind of for me, it would be like, oh, what am I not aware of? That would be my intention. Yeah.
It's like uncovering a blind spot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Diane mentioned intention to grow. Mada?
Mine is also to learn and to improve.
To learn and to improve. Okay. Mega? Intention to grow and improve. Very good.
Okay, great.
I would say today for me, I stress on the word today, but because I believe it was not the case when I was doing ACMC, but today my intention when I receive feedback, it's really the desire to get better, to improve, to receive the feedback as a gift, so that I can use it and to the best of my ability. Yeah.
Yeah. So my partner Manihela has another metaphor for feedback. She says it's feeding somebody. So when somebody gives me feedback, the person it's a gift. It's feeding me, and not taking something away from me.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But my guess, Wyman, that already steps into meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one is looking at what meanings do you give, resourceful meanings can you give to receiving feedback? And I'd like to, before you answer that, what I'd like to do, and I hope this works, is to ask you to give your, so I'm just going to stop sharing. And I'm going to share another screen. So, and what I'll ask you to do is log on to this website. And so this, if you go to www.menti.com, and
on the phone or on the laptop, Wyman?
Yeah, phone or laptop, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't know. It seemed to work better on the laptop, but
okay on the phone as well.
Okay, so once you get in, then you just add this code 275993, and then just give your answer to what resource or meanings you have to receiving feedback.
Okay, so we ask join a presentation and then put the code.
Yeah, just go to menti.com. Yeah.
So when we give a feedback, maybe I could suggest you put your initials at the end so that we know who's answering.
So, Wayman, I'm not, can you just read that code for me?
Yes, it's 275993.
No, no.
Oh. Okay. Wow. Okay. So some of the meanings, the person giving feedback has the intention of helping me grow. That allows me then to receive the feedback. It provides me with a new way I can respond to the client in front of me. And sincerity, receiving feedback is sincerity, expanding of self, and mirroring who I am, but with a different perspective. Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
That's cool.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you for that. So what I'll do now is I'll go back to and then Danielle, receiving a wrapped up present that I'm invited to unfold with gratefulness to enjoy the gift hidden inside. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So we'll send you a screenshot. So feedback is a gift for feeding me. Okay, so we'll screenshot this and then send that to you as well. Great, thank you. Thanks. I'll stop sharing and then I'll go back. Sharing. Okay. So can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, so the next stop is okay. So the skills of receiving feedback. So we'll start at 2.5. So this is when the coach receives the feedback first from the meta person, and then they'll receive feedback from the actual benchmarker. So they receive feedback from two people. So in terms of receiving feedback, to be in silent reflection. So you just silently, and the thing is, if you just receive feedback in silent and reflect and acknowledge, then you'll get 2.5. So this is one of the skills that is probably the first 2.5 that most of you will get. Because all you have to do is silently reflect on the feedback you receive. And you just acknowledge it and be neutral.
And then a 3 would mean that you dig for the gold. So you explore the meaning. So you acknowledge it with appreciation, thank you for giving me the feedback, and then ask, so what does that mean, or how can I do that better? So you try to extract the value from the feedback.
So what you're saying, Willem, it's like genuinely asking for clarity and for more details from the person giving you feedback. But it's not arguing, it's not like trying to justify oneself, but really trying to say, okay, oh, I see, so maybe could you give me a little bit more detail on that particular, what you just said? Is that it?
Yeah.
So that leads to 3.5, where the person seeks for details. So asking, so how exactly implement that? So the feedback you give, I don't know whether they'll ask for a VAK, more VAK about the details, and then asking themselves, how can I then action that? So that would be the implement.
So the implementation, I think, is really important, because it's one thing to accept and acknowledge, but to do something with the value, with the goal. That I think is what it's all about. How will I change my behavior, integrating this feedback?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to 2, so 2 would be that you disagree, and then you explain why you did what you did. So then that takes you down.
Now that's quite an exercise. I don't know if any one of you has done that, but I at one stage put a taboo on explaining myself, and it actually saves a lot of time. Because it's not about is the feedback correct or wrong. It is what's the value I can get from it.
Yeah. So the first time at ACMC, when I received feedback, I was explaining myself. Yeah. So, Willem, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so to argue or to deflect or discount or to talk over the person giving the feedback, I think it would tie into the disagrees and explain. It's just much more stronger to make an argument out of it, a right or wrong, or to deflect or discount. It may even be close to blaming circumstance or something else, because at ACMC the environment is it's not ideal, so I hear it, a lot of people would say, but in my office I will do it differently, but that's not that's a deflection. That's not the case. So it's great, because if you can coach at ACMC, you can coach everywhere or anywhere. And that's a great skill to have.
Absolutely. So 0 would be the person disengaging and perhaps not listening and even walking away. I think, Bruno, you had a case like that once.
Yeah. In fact, it was not necessarily when it was during the coaching conversation. The coachee started to argue with the coach, saying, I don't agree with the way you're doing. Why are you asking me the same question again? And was like, and I really had to intervene to calm down but it was really a level 0 engagement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question I have on disengage, how would we see that? So it's often the breaking of eye contact, looking down, because the person cannot really physically or would not easily physically walk away in an ACMC setting.
Yes.
But they would disengage by breaking eye contact, looking down, and just let the benchmarker talk till it's over, and not really engaging in the conversation.
Yeah. So any questions on this before we move on? No? Okay.
So I was just wondering, so particularly like your comment there, Willem, was interesting about it not being the ideal environment, which for me is a challenge. So if there's noise or it's difficult to hear, like I suppose it would be, say the feedback is you didn't hear this or you didn't hear that. It's like, how do I, so for example, say, okay, so I struggle with this. How would you suggest I handle that? That would be looking for the
That would be a
goal,
free acknowledge and explore for meaning, and seeking details.
Okay, cool.
And how can I implement it?
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Because if there's some environmental interference, it's the coach's job, if you think
keep the space,
to keep the space and to organize the environment, and even ask the coachee, could you speak up a bit? I can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, can I just check something with Izette? Are you a non-screener? Are you able, for example, if there's a lot of noise around, can you screen out and really focus on the conversation? Or is the surrounding noise going to affect you?
So it like I attended APG last week with Willem.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the 3 days, I said this outright. I was saying I'm struggling to connect with people because in this space it doesn't work for me. So I need to sit there and I need to sit there. And at the end of the 3 days, I was like, actually, it's not about the space; it's about the connection. So I've made some progress, but it's always been a challenge for me to have too much noise around me.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of it.
Okay, and maybe for everybody, it's a meta program that we have. It's the ability to screen out or not, and it's going to be so. If you have difficulty in screening out, if you're a non-screener, it's going to be tough for you at ACMC. But having said that, so it means if you're aware of that, you'll have to put in a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a great opportunity to stretch your meta programs if you're a non-screener at ACMC.
Yeah. So I need to go look for that meta program, the non-screeners. What you're saying, hey? I better go look at that one and see if I can add some flexibility so long.
and women are more non-screeners.
Yeah. So.
So let's move on to the next one. So talking about meta.
Shama, just join us. Welcome, Shama.
Hi, Shama.
Hi.
Okay. So the next topic is meta programs in regards to the context of receiving feedback. So if you're able, for example, in the meta program of counting and discounting, if you're able to count, because when you receive feedback, you'll receive feedback on what you did right and also the areas of growth. So if you're able to count what you have done, that would really be resourceful for you. So being conscious of being able to count that, rather than discounting what you have done right or well.
Yeah. And then the next one is about making the distinction. Feedback is not about my being, it's about my doing. I get feedback on behavior.
So you're not your school.
Yeah.
And as a coach lab, you're here to make mistakes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next one is about if you're a perfectionist, receiving feedback will be quite painful. So being able just to optimize the feedback that you receive, so that will be more resourceful for you.
And then the either or. It's not if you get a 2 that you totally bad or a failure. It's to see the scaling, the continuum. Because if we think either or, we translate the score to something good or bad, right or wrong.
Yeah.
See it as a score, see it as what it is on a scale.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I'll move on because of time. So that was receiving feedback. Now we'll go on to the next skill, which is giving feedback. How are we with time, Bruno?
Well, yeah, okay. I think if we can use 10 minutes maximum for giving feedback, then that's beauty.
So in terms of giving feedback, now the first, this is the opportunity that you have to give feedback. You are the person and you give feedback to the coach. So we will have triads. So you have 3. So you will have the opportunity to be the meta person to give feedback to the coach. And in receiving feedback, you're doing it in a state of precision. Okay, and when you go through the skills, you will see why it's a state of precision. So knowing that, what would be your intention for giving feedback? And perhaps we can quickly go round and ask, what would be your intention as a meta person to give feedback to the coach?
So maybe we can start with Shama, who just joined. So unmute yourself. So you can.
Yes, hi. So my intention when giving feedback, for me, it's like I'm giving a gift to the coach.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what I'm thinking now. That's all. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So.